And one of the things we've told all of our kids when it came with respect to dating is you're not just protecting your heart, you're protecting the heart of someone that you claim to care about. And so now there's a sense of responsibility, right? It's not all about them. It is also about the other person. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing that we tell them is one day you are going to meet that person. You're going to meet that person that God has for you, and you're going to have this opportunity for an incredible relationship. How much do you want to have to explain to them? How much do you want to have to explain before or during your marriage? How much do you want to have to do? And it puts them in the perspective of looking forward to the future of when that day comes, and understanding that there may be people before that person that they meet or that they like or that they go to a dance with or they go to the movie, whatever. But they guard the physical, they guard the emotional out of respect, not only for them, not only for that other person, but in the person of the future. And so I think that's really important, that you're not saying you can't have this. You're saying if you want the best, that's going to require more than just frivolousness.
You got to invest.
All right, I want to wrap up one final thing here, because we've talked about what does it take to be a good husband and wife as newlyweds, when you start to have babies and toddlers, when you have teenagers, when you have post-kids. I want to talk about a few things that are universals. I don't care where you are at within your marriage, that I think are really important. And it goes back to what I said before when we were talking about kids, right? There's the emotional, the intellectual, the spiritual, and the physical. The emotional, I don't care where you're at within your marriage, being sensitive or aware of the emotional well-being of your spouse has a lot to do with the time that you spend with them, with the words that you use. You want them to feel safe and secure with you, right? Now, you also want excitement. You want romance. You want these other things. I will say as a husband, if you want to be able to experience the best with the romance and the excitement and whatnot, if she feels secure with you, you're going to be able to achieve, you're going to be able to unlock a level of excitement and passion and all those other things when she feels secure with you. So that emotional component is very important. Women, and Tina, feel free to chime in here. Women, for men, you being proud of us is critical. Like loyalty and being proud of us for our emotional well-being. If we know you're proud of us, if we know you appreciate us, and we know that you are loyal to us, it is amazing the emotional response that you will get from a husband when they feel those things from you. Because a lot of times what men always, or what women complain about men, is you're emotionally unavailable. That's because in a lot of areas of our life, we have to be. We have to be strong. We have to be tough. We have to be able to deal with dangerous situations. We have to deal with dirty situations. We have to deal with this. And if you're breaking down every time you're confronted with that, you are not an emotionally stable man. And so it can be hard to experience, to be hard to allow for a certain degree of vulnerability. And Tina worded it beautifully once. She goes, it's not that the vulnerability is important, it's the softness. It's the sensitivity toward us. Yeah, the tenderness toward us that nobody else gets. And actually respecting that it is unique to you. You get the tenderness. The kids get the tenderness. The rest of the world doesn't get that same level of tenderness. Now, there may be same jobs or responsibilities where it would be appropriate, but that's really important. So that's that first component, that emotional thing for husbands. I would say that you need to understand that your wife needs to be secure in your love and respect for her, no matter what. And you're not going to be able to do that if you're allowing for emotional ties with other women. You're not going to be able to do that if you are cutting down her. Like, if you want her to change or to do something, but you are destroying her self-esteem in order to achieve it, or her security and your love for her in order to achieve it, you're going to get bad results, man. Because there's always going to be some other guy that would be more than happy to be able to lift her up in those areas that she is failing to get from you. And yes, a good woman may decide that I'm never going to walk down that path. But how dare you as a husband put it out there as a potential stumbling block? Don't do it. The intellectual. you cannot have a meaningful relationship with somebody without an intellectual component, right? If your attraction to your wife is, or the girl that you're thinking about marrying is purely emotional or physical without a strong intellectual component, there will be something missing from that a lot of men get tempted. One of the interesting things when they look at why men cheat, a lot of times the reason men cheat because they'll say, why did they cheat with somebody that wasn't as pretty, wasn't as young, why did they do that? It's usually damage to the emotional. The man doesn't feel appreciated, respected, or honored. Or the man doesn't have any sort of intellectual stimulus with their wife. So the important thing is for a husband, that intellectual stimulus is important. You need to foster that and have those communications and respect areas where your wife, has abilities and experiences and can contribute to conversations and understand where you're weak and she's strong, and don't look at that as being something that's intimidating. Look at something where that's an opportunity for both of you to grow intellectually in your relationship. There are wonderful things where Tina is able to, share things and insights and perspectives that are unique to her that I would never be exposed to if we didn't have those, if we didn't sit there and try to figure things out together. And a lot of times women desperately want that when they want to sit there and talk with you about something and you're just like, well, how do I fix this? What's the point? Learn to appreciate the intellectual journey. I did kind of a funny video on this, but it's true. Sometimes when your wife just wants you to listen, or not just listen, but actually kind of engage without trying to solve her problem, but rather understand why she's thinking of something a certain way, it's because women tend to think about problems and relationships and issues differently from men. You can be frustrated by that, or you can appreciate what you can learn from that. And by taking the time to engage in that intellectual dialogue, not only will you learn something and have insight. For how long have men been complaining about wanting to know what women think? Well, when she's willing to sit there and go through and explain why she's thinking a certain way and how she's processing it, dude, this is an opportunity for insight. Take it. Yeah, sometimes it's going to drive you nuts, but take it. Is there anything you wanted to add on the intellectual side from the...
No, man, I just feel like that was pretty right on.
All right, and so we talked about spiritual. This is part where some people watching may disagree.
Don't be the type of husband where the wife feels like she's got to drag you into spiritual wholeness. Yeah. You know what I mean? You got to lead. You've got to love Jesus more than you love your spouse. So we talked about your spouse coming first over the kids. Well, God's got to come first over your spouse. You cannot love your spouse. And I know that we're probably talking to some people that maybe they don't subscribe to the same worldview we do. But in our worldview, if you don't know and love Jesus first, you're not going to know how to love your spouse. Not well.
Yeah. And for a man to do that, you have to spiritually lead.